Perhaps we should just start with the basics for the audience to understand what's happened here. What does it mean for the whip to be removed from somebody in Parliament?
Well, thank you for having me on. So just to go into the explanations as you did so well there, James McMurdoch is being investigated for business propriety for £70,000, £50,000 taken from one company during the pandemic, and another £20,000 for another. Now, what it means, the whip to be removed in Parliament, is that you are no longer representing that party within the House of Commons. So at the moment, despite Reform being very high in the polls, leading most, Reform only have 5 MPs. So now that James McMurdoch has lost the whip, he's resigned it himself, and Lee Anderson agreed. While this investigation takes place, Reform are now down to only 4 MPs.
OK, and, what does that mean for Reform UK as a party? Of course, they've previously had 5 MPs in the House. They're back down to 4 now. What are the logistics? What does this mean for voting? What does this mean for the logistics, I guess, of the party going forward?
It's very difficult to tell at the moment because when Rupert Lowe, the first Reform MP to lose the whip, there was a huge kind of psychodrama maybe within Westminster of what this might mean for Reform's chances. And this was only a couple of months ago. Things have been pretty plain sailing in the polls since. They've only risen. They've only become more popular. And polling that was done that the vast majority of voters didn't even know who Rupert Lowe was. And he is probably one of Reform's most high-profile MPs. I'm actually quite struck at the reaction that's been to this. Obviously, it's been a huge story. It's been talked to on the broadcast, but it doesn't seem to have had the same cut-through just yet as Rupert Lowe losing the whip. So only time will tell. But the only thing that I can imagine that will happen is, of course, politicos like yourself and me, we look at this now and think this could be a huge blow for the party. Maybe people who are slightly more engaged also in politics might notice this, but for the vast majority of voters, even non-voters, who are inclined to like Reform, they like the message, they're intrigued about what they could offer on immigration compared to the both main parties, this might not even scratch the surface.
Tom, could you just remind us what the allegation is here so the audience understand exactly why this is taking place?
Of course. So the allegation so far is that James McMurdoch took £70,000 of business loans during the pandemic. The first was for Company A, £50,000, and for Company B, £20,000. Now, he didn't actually, according to the Sunday Times, and this is the allegations, he didn't file the accounts after he took the loans, which is a violation of the Companies Act. And that, according to this law, that this would mean that the companies would have to be wound up. Now, within the paper, it's not quite clear why they were not struck off Companies House. According to reports, it's that a third party intervened and stopped this from happening. I should say, though, very clearly that James McMurdoch put a statement after the article was published saying that he had complied with all regulations and he hadn't broken the law. He was just very concerned about ruining maybe Reform's reputation. And obviously with their sailing in the polls, he doesn't want to hurt their chances and potentially Nigel Farage's from becoming Prime Minister in 4 years' time.
Look, Tom Scottson there, thank you so much. Politics reporter for Politics Home there, Tom Scottson. Thank you for joining me and talking through that story there. I'm just going